We're here in the beautiful Zug in Switzerland, and we're here with Galia Benartzi from Bancor. Nice meeting you, Galia.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bancor, maybe you can give an update. What's Bancor up to this year actually?
Sure. Well, it's been a busy year, eventful and wonderful. Bancor is building furiously. So the Bancor network is live. It has been live since our launch. Today we have about 115 tokens live in the Bancor network that have integrated with the Bancor protocol. We're processing about $20 million worth of conversions per day. Through the network, so over 1 billion in conversions cumulatively since launch. And we just launched the Bancor wallet, which allows users to hold and trade their cryptocurrencies directly from their wallets, of course without depositing with exchanges, without fees. And we are pushing feature after feature after feature to make the most usable and accessible cryptocurrency experience and to allow free and fair trade between any token in the network.
All right, sounds good. I can't call you a decentralized exchange. Maybe you can tell the difference between, for instance, IDEX or a decentralized exchange 2.0 and the 3.0 you want to be.
Yeah, so in the progression from centralized exchanges to decentralized exchanges, Bancor is taking the next step forward, which is to decentralize liquidity networks. And what we mean by that is that we are not actually matching buyers and sellers in order to conduct trades between them. Certainly decentralizing that process is a great step forward, and we're big fans of IDEX and the other decentralized exchanges out there. The next part of the progression in Bancor's view is to enable tokens to be automatically converted one for the other without needing a counterparty. The reason that this is so important is that the need for a counterparty connects liquidity to volume. It means that you constantly need a volume of buyers and sellers between any token pair in order to allow for trades to happen, whether they're centralized or decentralized. And this volume actually prevents the long tail of currencies from emerging. Why do I say that? Because the next 100 million currencies that could be made out there by folks running communities, projects, networks, artists creating albums. There are really infinite use cases, and we're only at the beginning of them. These tokens may or may not have large volume on day one. And today we find ourselves still in the old chicken and egg paradigm where a token needs volume to be liquid, but it needs liquidity to have volume. And so reducing this barrier to entry, allowing tokens to be automatically traded one for the other, and we do this via a smart contract, which is always the buyer and always the seller in any given transaction, automates the industry, removes conversion fees, removes human-driven price interaction and often, unfortunately, price manipulation. So things like fake volumes and pump and dumps. In an automated system like Bancor, one cannot buy and sell from themselves, which is a flagrant problem plaguing exchanges today and creating these fake volumes that then have impact on prices. The Bancor protocol uses a next price methodology, which means the price that the network is reflecting to you between any given token A and any given token B is the next price that a trade will for sure happen at. You can do that trade, you don't have to do that trade, but prices will move predictably along a predetermined price curve. Still, of course, bent to demand, meaning that if folks want a token, if folks are purchasing a token, the token price is climbing. And if folks do not want a token and they're selling it, the token price is declining. But not matching buyers and sellers allows us to have much more transparency and much more symmetry of information, which removes some of the human interactions from exchanges that actually lead to a tremendous amount of volatility, instability, and costs to users that limit the growth of the industry.
All right, sounds good. And what are actually the challenges for Bancor? I mean, even in very busy times, in FOMO times, people are fear of missing out. Do you expect any delays? I mean, in trading?
So Bancor is actually very uniquely qualified to build software. The team behind Bancor has been building software products and companies for the last 20 years. We have a team of over 60 now and have deployed the most product of any token project in the industry. Like I said, the network has been live since day one and now boasts over 100 live tokens. The challenge
1 billion. 1 billion.
Processed 1 billion in token conversions to date. And the challenges that Bancor faces, and there are many, are somewhat universal to blockchain companies. So, for example, the scalability of the underlying infrastructure affects us all, right? If CryptoKitties is taking down the Ethereum network, then certainly decentralized exchanges, as they gain volume, will also encounter high gas fees, slow conversions, and other user experience problems. So, scalability is something. The way Bancor...
Are you in talks with the Ethereum Foundation to fix these problems? I mean, you're a growing player on the network, so...
So we are not actively building on Ethereum. We are making sure that the liquidity network, which is built for Ethereum, is the best that it can be, is the most secure that it can be, handles complex issues such as front running, which are unique to on-chain settlement paradigms. And another thing that we're doing is diversifying the underlying infrastructure. So we recently became a block producer for the EOS mainnet. Bancor announced that it will support the EOS currency as well and be the first truly cross-chain liquidity network. What
do you think of the recent problems with EOS?
We think that every problem is part of the coming solution, right? So these are very new networks that are in their very early days. We think that there is still so much exploration to do in governance models. We love what the folks at Ethereum are doing in terms of kind of transparent community conversation and transparent roadmaps that allow folks to weigh in. What EOS is doing with voting architectures and governance through proof of stake is also very interesting, and we're kind of watching it unfold in real time. So the goal for Bancor is to allow for continuous, automated, and affordable liquidity between every token that's out there, whether they're on the Ethereum mainnet, on the EOS mainnet, or on the many mainnets that we expect to see launching this year and moving forward.
All right. And do you have a vision on this decentralized and centralized? Some say, okay, EOS is more centralized in the governments. NEO is pretty much centralized. What is your vision between? I mean, in that topic, that discussion.
Yeah, so on the spectrum of centralized to decentralized, we think the same as we do in many topics, which is that the answer is rarely black or white. It's rarely one or the other. Of course, with each model, you have trade-offs and you have benefits, and you have the trade-offs wherever you are on the spectrum. And so the thesis that Bancor promotes is kind of the careful iteration and the trial and error of a system. So for example, in the Bancor smart contract, while it's a completely decentralized liquidity network, there are elements of centralization in the smart contract that allow the team that has designed the network to be very helpful in the case of an emergency. So we saw this with the hack of the DAO, right, where because the system was so decentralized, it was also in a sense powerless to stop a problem in its tracks. You could say that's okay, and that these problems do need to play out all the way. However, in the early days of a network, setbacks such as theft on a grand scale of massive amounts of value can set back the project more than the purest ideology of allowing the decentralization to progress untethered promotes the project. And so, again, you're always balancing between trade-offs. At Bancor, what we did with our smart contract is we clearly stated a time horizon in which the centralized elements would allow the team to take measures as needed, the protocols by which we would do that, and what would happen after this time horizon. So with the Bancor network, 3 years into the activation of BNT, the contract upgrades itself to its immutable state. And this gives the team behind the project that is at first, of course, the most highly motivated to ensure the project's survival is able to deal with the unknown circumstances that might arise.
Right. Sounds good. So in the end, we need some centralized elements to make this work, or to make this also work for a wider public. I mean, I think we only have 20 million wallets worldwide. So it's
Yeah, I think it's not that what we need is centralization. It's that what we need is healthy progress, and we need checks and balances, and we need to try out the theories that we have carefully and with high integrity and with good intentions. And so if you state the trade-offs that you're weighing between some element of centralization, some element of decentralization, and why you chose the path that you chose, and how you plan to check if what you chose is in fact the best after it's implemented and after it's tested, and then what you intend to do once you discover the results, I think, then we'll be in a really healthy discourse, both within the industry, between the projects and the users, and then also between the industry and those who are yet to join.
So it's better to be not a purist in this space, actually, in the end.
I think it's best to be a learner, right? There's so much that we don't know. We've never had a perfect governance system out there in humanity, right? If we had one, that would still be the one that we have. We're obviously on a progression and on a quest to find how do you align very different interests and very different preferences in a system that both works for the collective and works for the individual. And this is the reason that we love to see so many experiments, whether it's Ethereum or EOS or other blockchains and other governance models, because the more things we try, more likely we'll uncover solutions that work better for more people.
Maybe a few questions. I mean, what are the milestones for what are actually your ambitions for the coming 3 to 5 years? How many users do you want to attract to?
Sure. So those are that's a big range. 3 years and 5 years in cryptocurrency is a very, very long time. The Bancor token generation event was just 1 year ago today, and already it feels like a completely different era and a completely different industry, completely different conversation as well around the concepts and the products. So I would say that the goal for Bancor is providing the most seamless user experience for folks to trade between their tokens. Where we aim to go is an experience so seamless that really anyone can create a token. Bancor comes from the world of community currencies. We think community currencies have a tremendous amount of economic potential to offer abundance to communities out there, both underserved as well as mainstream communities, to create commerce locally and yet still trade globally. So in order for this long tail of cryptocurrencies to emerge, whether they're community currencies, artist currencies, or all kinds of other models that we haven't seen yet, we believe this underlying free and fair exchange mechanism, this automated and unencumbered by human intervention system for trade, is the foundational infrastructure that everything else can be built on. Of course, we build on foundational infrastructure, the blockchain itself, that folks at Ethereum and other blockchains are doing. So, everything is emergent and builds one on the next. But I would say that 5 years from now, we'd like to be in a place where truly anyone can create a currency for their community, and those currencies can be truly liquid from day one. Whether they succeed or don't succeed will be still a matter for the markets and for the people to decide whether they want to use those currencies or not. But it will not be for lack of liquidity. It will not be because of systemic barriers to entry of new and small tokens entering the system.
Right. It sounds in a way a bit like also like Kickstarter, like a big crowdfunding platform, but then for tokens.
Yeah, so Kickstarter and crowdfunding in general is a way for people to vote kind of economically on what products and services or initiatives they'd like to see in the world. And really you can think of all currency like this. Having a currency gain traction indicates that the network that currency powers is growing, that there's more demand for that network. And so certainly when we see community currencies growing, when we see currencies like Bancor Network token growing, it indicates that there is demand for the network that the currency powers. So really, this is one of the primary functions of money, is to help people organize our collaboration around the specific projects or ideas that we truly want to collaborate around.
Right, sounds good. Last question, what's actually your personal motivation to be in this space? I mean, you could be a brilliant lawyer or I don't know.
Great question. So the team behind Bancor is extremely motivated by the concept of freedom and justice. We think that a world where anyone can create a currency is a more fair world. It's a world that allows more people access to the system, which is truly the lifeblood of our modern human world. We think that while the current system has gotten us very far, from ancient times to today with progress in science and medicine and development, it's also left a lot of people out. And we really look forward to a model that can do better. And again, it's building on the foundations that have been built before, and it's recognizing where the existing system does a good job of incentivizing people to rally around things like the iPhone, or like a cure for cancer. But it doesn't do as good of a job, including people who start with less capital to participate in the system. It doesn't do as good of a job at protecting our natural resources or our commons.
So your personal motivation is actually also for the unbanked, you say, or the earth.
Sure. When we say freedom, we mean the freedom of all to participate in the human endeavor. Today, access to human collaboration is limited by access to money. We don't think that this barrier to entry makes sense anymore. Just like a barrier to entry of information doesn't make sense anymore in a world with the internet, right? Everyone could and should be able to access the information that's available to others. And we see the same thing as the purpose behind the Internet of Value or blockchain is allowing everyone to access the system by which we move energy between people.
Thank you very much, Galia, for your time.
Thanks so much.
Yes. All right.